That's a dirty fingerboard. Oh, are you fucking joking? Oh, you gotta be joking. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Why does this keep coming out of here? Okay, you'll stay strung up with that, so why the hell won't you stay strung up with the right fucking gauge string? Okay, so I've tried to put 2 different packs of strings on this guitar. It just keeps popping the low, it just keeps popping the high E string out. Just as soon as you get it up to tension, it just jumps right out. So don't forget, these are vintage tuners from the 1970s, the early 1970s. So what I'm gonna do, what we've decided to do, the owner of the guitar has already gone to the one of the local music shops and picked up an exact match for these tuners. So we're going to save these in the box because they are vintage and original, and we'll just put a nice brand new set of exactly the same thing. So we'll just put a nice brand new set of exactly the same thing on here, and we'll save this in a box for him. So I'll get these strings off and we'll go ahead and restring this. Alright. Alright, so after a day away from it to think about it, and talking to the owner, who's actually very mechanically inclined himself, he does mechanic work and races a car and runs a race team, but he's an IT guy by trade. But anyway, so we bought these. Or rather, he went and bought these. And, oh, these say made in Taiwan now. They used to say made in Mexico. Anyway, I thought these would be a direct drop-in. I've used these a dozen times. But guess what? This is not only different material, those seem to be made of brass. These old tuners also are a completely different diameter. So, the newer style tuners get out of there. I'm just going to buy these off him because I use them all the time for other stuff, so see the difference? Dirty slut. Like, it's thicker on both ends, so the diameter is totally different. I have no doubt this is probably still a better quality tuner than the older tuner. But here's our before I go start drilling into an original headstock on a 1970s guitar, we're going to try a little trick. So here's what I've done. This is popping strings, but I tried it. I tried this with the equivalent of the gauge of a G string, and it held the string. Actually, it's already that tuner. So I pulled these off and put them up into a package the way they came off the guitar. And so here's what, so this is what I've done. I've just swapped out what used to be the G tuner for what's now the tuner. Well, fuck. Why can't I speak? I swapped out what used to be the tuner for the G string for the tuner that used to be the E string. And my fear is that this will be grooved out to the size of a G string, and then it too will let go of an E string. Now, I've already choked up a couple of packs of strings on this, so I'm not even gonna restring the whole guitar. I'm just gonna pull the one string I need out of that and see what I can do. So I'm gonna chuck these back on in this order. Keep my fingers crossed that we can get a little more mileage out of these. And I'm gonna start poking around to see if I can get actual original drop-in style replacements, which would be, well, it would be preferable to drilling into a 1972 or 73 headstock. Because I just have to, like, those need to be reamed out just a touch, and if this was any other guitar, this would have been done already. I'd have already, this video would be up, this wouldn't have taken 2 days. I put in hundreds of tuners where I needed to enlarge the hole. It's not a big deal, but this is mostly an original guitar except for the paint on the body. And that one, well, okay. So there's a lot that's not original about it. But this entire neck is original. And so we're trying to preserve that. So that's the consideration we're making here, to try and get a little bit more mileage out of these original parts. Because they function, like the tuner seems to function, it just kept spitting it right back out the top. And it happened to me 6 times. So here we go. Let's just put these things back in. So again, the order of this is critical because I don't want to pull, for the same fear that I was just telling you about earlier, I don't want to go and pull something that's been grooved out to the size of that low E and stick it in here. So, fingers crossed. If you're religious, sign the cross on your whatever, however you do it. But that's... Goes without saying that anytime you pull something like this off a guitar, especially an old guitar, keep track of the order this stuff came off there in. Because old parts, especially when you're dealing with different diameters and different dimensions, will wear at different rates. And you can really mess up the way a vintage instrument feels by moving parts around like this. So I'm being very careful to make sure that I keep track of what I've done. Now, what I've done here is it's not hard to keep track of. I've just swapped these 2 tuners. If you were going to be anal when you pulled these off, you could always grab like if this was going to be long-term, and I didn't have a convenience, because I saved this packaging from other stuff, right? So I just had this kicking around. But if you were going to do this, I would just, and you didn't have packaging, like I would just put a piece of tape over top and then, you know what I mean? And then you could just label them like that, or leave the tape on top with them so they stay in that order. Like if you were taking the guitar for any length of time, so that when it comes back to putting these parts back on the guitar, they go back on there the way they came off. particularly with things like bridge saddles. Those will wear in different ways. Christ, even these screws I think are brass. Oh, I know the point I meant to make about this, doing this. Everything that's unoriginal to this guitar at the moment is reversible. The color, some of the electronics, all that stuff's reversible. If I enlarge these holes, that's irreversible. You can't undo that. The paint, we can undo. Right? Like, we can take that paint off. This guitar was just natural finish when we got it. Electronics, we have the original pickup being repaired actually by Will's Easy Guitar, and the rest of that's original electronics. The rest of this is completely original. But drilling these holes out, that's an irreversible thing. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that either this works or that we're able to find appropriate diameter replacement tuners for this. Because it would really suck if this doesn't work, and the only... Well, it won't really suck, it'll work, right? Like, the guitar will work, and we'll do it if we have to, but it's the last thing we want to do, unless we have to. So let me string it up and see if this works. It hurts to open up another package of strings. Just to take one string out of here. That hurts me. The strings that are already on here are brand new. So at this point I'm trying not to be any harder on these tuners than I have to be, so I'm just winding them up by hand rather than going at it with... So I'm actually going to wind up as much string as I can here. I think we're golden, boys. Oh yeah! Okay, that's fixed, hopefully, because that would have popped out by now already. Sweet. Alright kids, here's where things went south for me yesterday when I was working on this. So, stretching out the strings, and it popped immediately. And this is the one I'm worried about now, the G string. It's good. And the E string seems solid. Okay, now I can get on to my fucking measurements and hoping to see where this neck was at. I had to bring up the the high E string. It was down just a little bit too far. This is a 7 1/4 inch radius, or 7 1/2, or whatever that particular measurement happens to be. It's not a 9 1/2. So I used, perfect like butter. .12 is slipping under there. Perfect. This neck hasn't moved. This neck hasn't moved at all since I painted it and gave it back to him. Hasn't moved an inch. Not an inch. Hasn't moved at all. Ooh, frets out a little bit. Oh no, that's not too bad. That's just my bad playing. But yeah, it's very curved radius. Feels super comfortable in your hands. Yes, it's an awesome guitar, boys. Awesome. Okay, there you go. 70s Stratocaster. She's had her frets cleaned, fingerboard cleaned, she's been set up, she's been checked, all her measurements are good. We avoided catastrophe on the vintage tuners. Thank Christ for that, because those are all, that seems like that's all brass. Anyway, yeah, awesome. There you go, boys. I'm gonna spare you my bad playing. Just end the video there.